I can tell you how big his winker is. It's pretty small.
No, it's not. I could tell you plenty of times.
It's about
I've
that
known
big.
him for 7 years.
It's
No,
about that
definitely
big.
not. Definitely not. And don't you dare tell him about his penis.
Talking on Facebook, he shared a couple of pictures with me. He shared a picture like this. I thought he was very cute. We finally wanted to meet. When he got off the bus, I seen this. He catfished me. I'm like, what happened? Like, I wanted to see this, but I got this.
There was enough anger to go around in this court case. Miss Colbert appeared in court, boiling like a volcano, to prove to Mr. Tubbins that he was the only man who could have fathered her twins. But Mr. Tubbins claimed there was no way he could be the father because he found out that she had slept with 2 of his family members.
Ms. Colbert, you've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove to Mr. Tubbins that he is the father of your 9-month-old twins, Ariel and Adonis Colbert.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Tubbins, you say you know you're not the twins' father and claim that you uncovered that Ms. Colbert slept with not 1, but 2 of your family members.
Yes, Your Honor.
Everyone wanted to know what kind of relationship Mr. Tubbins and Ms. Colbert had that would make her want to sleep with his family members. Well, guess what? They were actually married.
Your Honor, I am his wife. I married him 1 month after dating, and it was because of his religion issues. He wanted to become married, and because he wanted to use me. He was living in a house with a 2-year-old child with no hot water and no electricity, and I felt bad for him, and I allowed him to come to my house and stay.
In no time, accusations started to fly about, and the secrets of their relationship started to come to light. After their marriage, less than 3 weeks into the marriage, Ms. Colbert hops out of nowhere and tells Mr. Tubbins she's pregnant, and in his mind, it just doesn't make sense.
About 3 weeks after you married her, she told you she was pregnant.
Yes.
And immediately you questioned the twins.
Yes, because she lied from the beginning. She told me that the last person that she slept with was 3 months prior before we started trying to get together. Then she turned it from 3 months to 3 weeks.
If there's anything Ms. Colbert was sure of, it was the fact that she had the worst taste in men, and getting intimate with Mr. Tubbins was the worst mistake of her life. She claimed he was using her because she loved him.
He
Your
just
Honor.
used me. He was using my truck. He ain't have no way to get around, and I was helping him.
And that's who you
That's a
chose
lie.
to
That's-
sleep with?
It was the worst mistake of my life.
Exactly.
It was the worst mistake
Exactly.
of my life.
So you let him move in, then you married him.
Yes, I did.
Mr. Tubbins was still hitting the nail on the head by claiming that Ms. Colbert had slept with his family members. As you would expect, the judge was forced to ask him how he knew something like that happened. His response was nothing short of mind-blowing. He claimed she told him about it.
She told me about one of the family members
Yeah.
before the marriage.
Yes, I
Before
did.
the marriage.
It was 20 years before me and him got together.
Hold
When
on.
me and him first started dating, I looked on his Facebook and, I was just being
Your
nosy
Honor.
because we starting to date. I want to investigate you. So I'm doing my
Your Honor.
investigation and I see the picture of him and a mutual friend of ours.
Newsflash, she didn't just sleep with one of his family members. At least that's what he was claiming in the courtroom. He said that when they broke up, the other family member came to him and told him that if he had mentioned he wanted to get married to her, he would have advised him against it because he also slept with her.
After we broke up, a family member came to me. He said, well, you know what? If you would have came to me and let me know before, I could have told you all about her.
Oh, really?
And then he told me
But
about...
now they tell you?
Did this family member say he had also slept with her?
Yes.
So there's one family member from 20 years ago and then this family member.
Yes.
It was beyond a mess in the courtroom, with Ms. Colbert and Mr. Tubbins yelling at the top of their voices. Now, Ms. Colbert was voicing out her complaints to the judge and telling her that all the while they were together, Mr. Tubbins never told his family members about her or her babies. Trust me, she was furious about it.
When he hid our marriage, he hid my pregnancy, he didn't want nobody to know that we was even
completely
getting
wrong.
married.
I never hid
Why
our
don't you
marriage.
be honest? You call
Never hid
yourself
our
a
marriage.
man of God. Be a man of God and be honest. Okay? Don't sit up here and try to paint me out like I'm no tramp when I was nice enough to let you in my home when you ain't have
You
nothing.
asked me to,
No
you asked
heat.
me to come. You asked
Even the judge was about to lose her temper with Mr. Tubbins. He had no evidence to show that the twins were not his children. All his doubts rested on the fact that he felt Ms. Colbert slept with his family members.
I just want to deal with the paternity as it relates to Adonis and Ariel. What evidence were you trying to present to me, Mr. Tubbins?
Well, So I didn't bring any evidence today, Your Honor.
Of course
but-
not. Of course not. You ain't even looked at your children. They about to be a year in August. He ain't seen them yet.
He wasn't making any sense to the judge anymore, so he decided to raise the argument about how the conception dates for the twins didn't add up to him. But Ms. Colbert was beyond ready for that fight, trust me.
The doctor said that she conceived on November 20th. We didn't have sex until November 30th.
No, we didn't.
Your Honor.
We had sex a couple days before the 28th, and then we had sex for the second time on the 28th. So we had
Your Honor.
we had sex 2 times in a week.
All right,
in that week.
let me figure this out. I've got a conception calculator.
The moment of truth was finally here, but the air was thick with uncertainty. What would the outcome be? Is he the father, or has Ms. Colbert been lying all this time? Time to see what the future holds for them.
Mr. Tubbins, you are the twins' father.
I'm sorry, I'll take care of him, but I have reason
Whatever.
for doubt. I have reason for doubt.
Oh,
I'll
really?
take care of him. I
Okay,
have
whatever.
reason for doubt.
Whatever.
Before you start acting silly in here off of emotion, you haven't even met your twins. You have 2 beautiful babies.
Ms. McIntyre and her mother were absolutely certain that Mr. Wilson was her baby's biological father. She claimed the only reason he wasn't accepting the baby was because he wanted to live a single life. But Mr. Wilson had more than enough proof to make him certain he couldn't be the father.
Ms. McIntyre, you and your mother stand before me claiming that you are 100% certain that Mr. Wilson is your 3-year-old son, Jayshawn's biological father. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
You say the only reason he has doubt is because he wants to live the single life.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Their relationship started on Facebook, and Ms. McIntyre was already in love with this young man. In no time, their conversation got pretty intense, and Mr. Wilson was already telling her he would give her the world. Well, that never really happens now, does it?
How did this relationship begin?
We was talking on Facebook. He shared a couple of pictures with me. He shared a picture like this. I thought he was very cute. He said he was gonna take care of me and my daughter.
On Facebook, he was already gonna take care of you and your daughter?
Yeah, he sold me a dream.
You had never met?
No, we never met before.
Okay.
As I said, it was all too good to be true. After having their cute conversations on Facebook, it was finally time for them to meet in person. When they finally did, Ms. McIntyre couldn't believe what she saw. She claimed she had been catfished.
I'm like, what happened? Like, I wanted to see this, but I got this.
Is it a totally different picture or is it just good angles?
It's good angles.
What can I show
or
it to you?
something? I don't know.
Did you try to catfish her, Mr. Wilson?
No, lie. All the way around. I'm sexy. Why I need to catfish somebody?
Right.
Is you serious?
Mr. Wilson was being completely honest in the courtroom. Well, at least so he claimed. He said he wasn't in the courtroom to deny the child and say he wasn't the father, but he just had doubts.
I want to be honest. I'm not here
he
to
is.
say I'm denying my kid,
He
but at the
is.
same time too, Miss McIntyre kind of ratchet at the same time.
When you say kind of ratchet, are you indicating or inferring that she sleeps around?
Yes,
I
Sean.
don't believe that he's saying that. This guy is full of it.
Jumping right in after Ms. McIntyre gave birth. She had her baby quite well, and all right, but the question now was, did she tell Mr. Wilson she had a baby? She claimed she did, but Mr. Wilson slammed back at her and said she never reached out to him at all.
We lived together like after, you know.
Way after the fact Jayshawn was in the picture.
Take me to the day you gave birth. Did you tell Mr. Wilson?
Nope.
Uh-huh.
Nope, not until after the fact. They claimed they didn't
Are
have
you
no way.
serious?
They claimed they didn't
I
have
called
no
him
way
on phone.
of getting in contact with me. They
Are
called
you
me after the
serious?
fact he was conceived.
Well, it was from argument to the next, with Ms. McIntyre, her mom, and Mr. Wilson wanting to rip out their throats. Mr. Wilson's name was never put on the child's birth certificate because he never made it to the hospital.
I'm in that process, yes. I got his social.
Hasn't done anything for him?
Not to my knowledge.
And believe it or not, if this baby not mine, I'm not gonna.
But
do
it
nothing.
is yours.
I'm not.
But it
It's
is
that
yours.
simple.
You haven't did anything.
It is
I got a
yours.
1-year-old daughter. I take
It
care of
is
faithfully.
yours.
You never
That's the
did
thing. I'm
anything
not.
anyway.
It is yours.
So I want to understand your doubt, Mr. Wilson.
He was ready to spill everything he believed to be true. Mr. Wilson claimed that the proof that made him feel the baby wasn't his was the fact that he kept getting texts from people he knew, saying that Ms. McIntyre had been sleeping with several other men.
Okay, supposedly I got texts that somebody that I personally knew face to face was messing around with Miss McIntyre around the same time I was messing around with Miss McIntyre.
So do you have that proof fear?
Okay, then, hold on, not
You
only
had
that.
that fear? No.
Not only
No.
that, though. My thing is this, not only that, I have called Miss McIntyre.
Well, he did let the cat out of the box, and he sure didn't feel bad for it. He claimed after he found out Ms. McIntyre had been cheating on him, he went on what I would like to call a cheating spree. Oh, he was sleeping with everybody and anybody he could find.
So yeah, I was hurt. So I went out there, I was super cheating. You know what I'm saying? I served.
Yeah.
Super
When
cheating.
you come back,
That's
you
the
come
first.
back,
I was super cheating.
With
I
every
was-
transies, right?
I was
That day when I was
super
asleep,
cheating.
when I was
You
asleep,
feel me?
huh? You come
I
back
was
with two transies, right?
super sleep. I was
Huh?
cheating
Yeah,
with
you can't get
everybody
in. You can't
and
get in.
anybody. To be honest with you, I'm gonna be real with you.
Well, the suspense is finally over, and the hassle of who the dad of their child is about to be revealed. It's been a bumpy and funny ride with Mr. Wilson and Ms. McIntyre. All eyes are on the judge as she unleashes the truth. Get ready, paternity folks.
Mr. Wilson, you are his father.
Told you. Told
That's all
you.
I needed to know.
Told you ought to be ashamed.
That's all I needed to know.
You ought to be ashamed.
I needed to know that. That's my
Mr.
thing.
Charisma.
I needed to know that.
Hold on, we starting off wrong. You got the clarity you needed, and Miss McIntyre and Mom,
You're
you
right,
said
yeah.
you wanted your son.
Looking at this couple, you could tell they just weren't meant for each other. Mrs. Johnson dragged Mr. Johnson to court on the matter of him not being a good dad. Was Mr. Johnson having any of it? Hell no. Their messy situation began like this.
You are here today on the verge of divorce because you claim your husband of 7 years is forcing you to choose him over your 12-year-old son, Elijah. You state that you have separated multiple times over the past 5 years of your marriage. You have petitioned the court to order Mr. Johnson into family counseling because you say if he will not agree, you plan to divorce him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. and Mrs. Johnson have been at each other's throats for quite some time now. Having been married for up to 7 years, their marriage has crash-landed from a state of bad to worse. And the shocking thing here is it's all because of their 12-year-old kid.
I took him to the go-karts, and he was supposed to meet us after work and didn't even show up. My son was so upset. He sat there and cried because nobody came to his birthday party.
He wasn't upset that I didn't come. He was upset that his cousins didn't come from Florida. It had nothing to do with me. He has cousins in Florida that he doesn't see a lot.
Mrs. Johnson went on and on about how Mr. Johnson wasn't threatening both of their kids. In her words, he had a favorite one. You can bet Mr. Johnson wasn't just going to let her run her mouth.
My son, we took like a safari ride, and he said, oh, well, me and Ethan will ride on this one, and you and Elijah can ride on that. And it just hurts my son's feelings because he never shows that extra step to where...
She doesn't enforce me as a father figure. She doesn't...
I shouldn't have
I'm the father
because
that's
he's
there.
been in his life since he was 2 years old, and he should take that extra step on his own.
As they kept trolling each other in the courtroom like it was another WWE wrestling match, mind-blowing revelations started to pop out. Believe me, these revelations will leave your jaws dropping from your mouth.
Mr. Johnson, but do you show favoritism? Do you?
No, I
to
don't.
your
Yes,
biological
he does.
child?
He does. He will go in our son's room that we have together, and he will go
He's
in
my
there and play
son.
video
I'm not going to be
games with them.
disrespected
At one point in
and then
time,
deal with it.
I
Why
would
not
go to
discipline
work,
children?
and I would work nights, and they would have like movie night and all this other fun
And
stuff.
you would lay out
and then
rules
it
for him to
put-
do,
then
and
it
he
put
never
out-
does them.
After Mrs. Johnson was done throwing shades at her husband in the courtroom, it was Mr. Johnson's turn to spill the beans. And my God, did he have a lot to say about Mrs. Johnson and their 12-year-old boy. It was like an unending love series.
Elijah's disrespectful to me, to her,
Yeah, but he's disrespectful.
to everyone. To everyone.
When you
Mr.
say he's
Johnson have
disrespectful,
He's disrespectful to
first
everyone.
give me
He
some
takes-
specifics. What do you mean?
She told him, we got a new place together. I started to remodel the entire place. She told him specifically to clean up after himself. He is 12 years old. I cleaned the entire house.
The rants go on, and Mr. Johnson keeps pouring out his mind like a wounded lion. Does it end there? Of course not. Mrs. Johnson, filled with rage, jumps into the ring again and starts throwing shots at her husband.
He's the one acting like he's 12 too.
I'm trying to teach him to be a man. I'm trying to teach this boy to be a man.
How specifically are you trying to teach him to be a man?
If he's 12 years old, can he pick up after himself? Can he listen to his mom? Can he respect his
So
elders?
learning how to do chores, clean up after himself.
Respect.
Yeah, but you
Do
gotta
you think
give
he respects
respect.
his
I did
mother?
give respect for many, many years.
Mrs. Johnson's dad walks up to the stage and drops bombs on bombs, countering every single word Mr. Johnson says. It was almost like her dad was her husband's biggest OPP. Man just stood there, throwing heavy blows at Mr. Johnson.
I see Elijah being left out on a lot of things.
Left out of what?
Father, son, the ice cream. You ask Ethan to pick up your room. It's like, would you pick up your room? What's wrong with you? Why don't?
So why aren't we here for the way you talk to Ethan?
You know, talk to him like a human being, not like an animal.
Knowing Mr. Johnson, you could bet he was ready for his comeback. As soon as Mrs. Johnson's dad was done talking, boom, he came with his comebacks that hit like bullets shot by a firing squad.
Doesn't that go for both?
Grandfather.
Doesn't that go for both kids though? Wouldn't that go for both children, not just Elijah? Like what Ethan, my son, he does the same thing. He babies Elijah. Oh, it'll be okay.
Shouldn't yell at Ethan
oh, it'll be
like
okay.
that.
You yell at him. Your daughter will admit it.
So now you're saying that Mr. Amolch yells at...
He's way more aggressive with Ethan than he is with Elijah.
The moment of truth was finally here, but the air was thick with uncertainty as to whether their marriage was going to be saved or shattered for good. Time to see what the future holds for them. I hope you guys are ready.
Everyone's parenting styles are different. As for the anger management request, you countersued and petitioned this court to order that Ms. Johnson go to anger management. Earlier in your testimony, Ms. Johnson, I remember distinctly hearing you say, I do need anger management because I'm mad all day.
Mr. Webb and his girlfriend insist that there's absolutely zero chance that he fathered the defendant's 16-month-old child, Majestic. And that's because he never actually slept with the defendant. The defendant, Ms. Cole, says that's impossible, and she's 100% certain that Mr. Webb is indeed the father.
I never had sex with her, Your Honor.
Well, that would rule you out. You never had sex with her?
No.
Yeah, he did.
If you've never had sex, why are you here?
I know for a fact the dates line up, and I know he stayed with me for 2 months, and he slept in my bed with me for 1 night, and we had sex.
Well, it looks like Ms. Cole is crystal clear about who had sex with whom. Mr. Webb says that he was only ever friends with Ms. Cole, and they were never intimate. He even says he never stayed in her bedroom. But Ms. Cole thinks another thing entirely happened.
I can't exactly remember, but I know that it was a night that we was partying.
Oh, yeah, right. He ain't like that.
Your Honor, the worst that we've ever done is take a picture, and she was already in the bathroom. She had called me in there. When I walked in the bathroom, she said cheese and took a picture before I could even say anything. I didn't even want to take that picture. That's how crazy she is.
Wow, it seems Ms. Cole's mother has some really strong feelings about this case. Mr. Webb denies all of this and gets Mrs. Cole screaming again.
So, Ms. Cole, you said you and your husband were taking care of Mr. Webb?
Yes, and my grandkids and anybody else that needed.
You're a liar.
You are a liar.
You are a liar. Everything that you're saying. She was on the phone with me 5-6 times every day.
Why was Mr. Webb living with you?
He's a punk bum.
But somehow Mr. Webb's stories do not seem to add up. It doesn't sound like he was just hanging out. It sounds like he needs somewhere to stay. Anyway, Mr. Webb's girlfriend and Ms. Cole also get into it.
She knew about it. We were friends. She trusts me. She knows I'm not like that. I don't do that type of stuff.
I've known him for 7 years, and he is not like that at all. And you called me, and you called me with his friend telling me that he was there for 3 weeks and you guys were having sex and blah, blah, blah. At first, I did believe that. But then I heard his story, and none of it. Shut up, I am talking.
Hold on, let's be respectful.
Yeah, it still doesn't add up. Mr. Webb still says he went over to Miss Cole's house, hung out for about a week and a half, threw a party, and then dipped after without ever sleeping with her. Miss Cole says that wasn't how it happened, and that one night they did the deed.
She had sent me an ultrasound saying that's a 3D photo. Tell me she don't look like you. Are you that crazy? How crazy are you that do I look like an ultrasound? I got on Google because I don't know much about baby stuff, so I'm thinking, is that a thing now? So I said, Tasha, you're crazy. We didn't blink. I'm not the father to your baby. Please leave me alone.
However, Miss Cole says that Mr. Webb told her cousin that he was the father of the baby, but Mr. Webb denies that and says that he thinks Miss Cole is just obsessed with him and wants him to be the father.
No, I told you there was another possibility, and I told the other possibility there was another.
That you were 100% sure that I was the father. You and your mom said that.
Wait a minute, Miss Cole.
Look, she looks just like him.
That baby's white. He is dark.
I'm sorry, but I'm Puerto Rican.
Okay.
That's all I got to say.
Miss Cole.
What?
You're saying that you were honest, and don't say what.
Mr. Webb doesn't believe this happened at all, but Ms. Cole has a pretty convincing reason why she's now sure that Mr. Webb is the father.
I was for certain that the other guy was the dad until my due date got changed a month ahead, which would make him the dad. It went from February 22nd to January 28th.
You submitted a calendar to the court, am I correct? Oh, you have another copy. Jerome, let me see that, please.
Mr. Webb still denies it, even though Ms. Cole remembers how the entire experience was.
And then Majestic was born on the 28th of January, correct?
Yes.
When were you intimate with the other guy?
She don't even know.
May 15th, 16th.
How do you get those two mixed up? That's over a month. How are you gonna say that you think it's him and then over a month?
Because the due date.
The due date.
The doctor gave the due date.
Well, at least it wasn't a lousy 5 minutes. That would have been far worse. What if Mr. Webb had gotten drunk and slept with Ms. Cole and just didn't remember? That could have happened during the nights of partying that they had, right? But Mr. Webb says that's not possible.
Oh, every time I party, I've never been the type to wake up and not remember what I've done the night before. I know myself. That's just how it is. Unless there's something I don't know, like her drugging or something.
Without Ms. Cole, without being too graphic, are there any other details, specifics that you can share that would prove your case?
I can tell you how big his winker is. It's pretty small.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, it's time to see what the DNA test has to tell us about this case. Who's the liar here, Mr. Webb or Ms. Cole?
Mr. Webb, you are not her father.
Oh! Yeah, you're crazy. You need to go to a mental hospital.
Ms. Webb.
There, get her there, get her there.
Mr. Webb, Ms. Reams, stop.
But I want a lie detector.
Listen, we don't clown in this courtroom. I know you probably feel relieved, vindicated,